This is the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida, home of the Dolphins, one of the most improved teams in football. Don Shula's young club has won 5 straight games and has established itself as a power in the NFL. The Dolphins have talent aplenty, and while everyone knows about their offensive stars, Greasy, Warfield, Zonka, Kick-It-All, the Miami defense has been the big story. Their names aren't well known, but only the Vikings and Colts have given up less points. In fact, before last Sunday, the most points given up by the Dolphins in a single game was merely 14. Last Sunday, as over 66,000 Florida fans flocked to see their heroes, Miami needed all their talents because they faced the surging Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm Bob Delaney, and this is the NFL Game of the Week. The Miami Dolphins versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the game's first series, that Dolphin defense we were talking about looked superb. Miami stopped Pittsburgh's fine runners, and on third down, when Terry Bradshaw tried to pass, the ball was first deflected, then intercepted. The two who teamed on the play were number 13, free safety Jake Scott, and number 40, safety Dick Anderson. They, along with middle linebacker Nick Bonaconte, are the leaders of the aggressive Dolphin defense. Bob Greasy had spent the previous night in the hospital with a stomach ailment, so today, Don Shula started George Myra, the ex-University of Miami star. Myra began predictably by giving to Larry Zonka for good yardage, but on second down, his pass for Warfield was thrown to the wrong side. Warfield almost made the catch anyway. On third down, the man they call the Matador was trapped by the Steeler front line, and little Garo Upremian was called in. The Cypriot Sidewinder is the leading scorer in the AFC and had kicked field goals in 14 straight games. This boot from 43 yards gave him 15 in a row and gave Miami a 3-point lead. It didn't last long. Terry Bradshaw led his team on a march that began on his own 20 and ended in Miami's end zone. He did it on a mixture of short passes, power runs, and screens that kept the enemy on its heels. There was considerable doubt that Bradshaw would even be in the lineup today. He'd suffered a badly sprained ankle in the Steelers' big win over Cleveland the week before, and Terry Hanratty was expected to start. But Bradshaw couldn't be kept out. After a flat pass to Frenchie Fuqua was good for 13, Bradshaw found Dave Smith slanting over the middle. He broke a necktie tackle and romped in for Pittsburgh's first score. This is the young man that prematurely thumped the ball down in Kansas City a few weeks ago. But he shouldn't be remembered for that unfortunate incident too long, for the Steelers feel that Smith is one of the coming stars of the game. Pittsburgh had to wait only one play before they had the ball again. Myra gave to Mercury Morris, who fumbled. The ball was recovered by L.C. Greenwood on the Miami 32. Two plays later, Bradshaw wobbled a pass that was deflected into the hands of Ron Shanklin, and the speedy youngster gleefully carried the gift in for a score. A repeat of the touchdown shows Bradshaw throwing into an 18-mile-an-hour wind. Number 40, Anderson, tipping the ball right to Shanklin. It's ironic because if the pass had been a typical Bradshaw bullet, Shanklin most likely wouldn't have been so fortunate. As it was, Pittsburgh had suddenly taken a 14-3 lead, as two second-year receivers you'll be hearing a lot more from in the future left the field together. After the early offensive flurry, the remainder of the first quarter was left to the defenses. Miami found it could not run against the Steelers, and this held true for the entire game. Miami had been averaging almost 200 yards on the ground each game, but was kept to 119 by the Pittsburgh defense today. Mercury Morris was again filling in for the injured Jim Kick, and a power runner he is not. Meanwhile, Myra was missing with his passes, and the hometown hero did nothing to disprove his acquisition was more than a public relations gesture. Pittsburgh, too, could do little the rest of the first quarter due to mistakes and their opponent's defense. The Steelers today were trying to prove they could win on the road. All 4 wins have been earned at home. All 4 defeats have come on the road. Pittsburgh was determined that today's wouldn't be the 5th. After number 85, Nick Bonaconte helped stop a tight end screen for one of 7 tackles and 5 assists he would make today, Bob Greasy entered the game to turn the tide for Miami. Instead, he helped maintain momentum for Pittsburgh. Greasy's fumble came on the last play of the first quarter and gave Pittsburgh the ball at midfield. A repeat reveals the Dolphin quarterback actually recovered his own fumble, but Steeler linebacker Andy Russell stole it away from him. It was a big play for the captain of the Steelers, but it's something he's been doing for 7 years now as one of the defensive standouts in football. The turnover was unusual for Miami, for they have had few this year, one of Shula's prime ingredients for success. They've had only 9 turnovers all season, far below most teams. Greasy has thrown only 3 interceptions, best among regular quarterbacks, and one reason he leads the AFC in passing. With Namath and Unitas on their team's benches, Bob Greasy has claimed to the title Best Quarterback in the East. But back to another quarterback, and one with a very hot hand. Terry Bradshaw was quick to take advantage of Greasy's fumble. After he bulleted one pass to Dave Smith for a first down, Bradshaw, off a play fake to Fuqua, threw another beauty for Shanklin. A great save by cornerback Tim Foley, number 25, foiled Bradshaw. Now with the ball on the Miami 35, Bradshaw screened to Fuqua, and frantic Frenchie tore for 19 yards to the Dolphins' 16-yard line. Watch number 85 on this repeat of the previous play. Middlebacker Nick Bonaconte tried to blitz Bradshaw, but was picked up perfectly by guard Gary Mullins and set back Preston Pearson. The rest was left to Fuqua, who is the only runner in the conference to gain over 100 yards in 3 games this year. From the Miami 16, Bradshaw threw in the left flat for Dave Smith, who broke 2 tackles with great moves and went in for the score. A repeat of this touchdown vividly displays the moves he used to shake first Curtis Johnson, then a diving Jake Scott. Pittsburgh was now way out in front of Miami, 21-3. Now, for the first time since the first series of the game, Miami got moving. Larry Zonka, the AFC's leading runner, got some tough yards up the middle. Then Bob Greasy completed his first pass of the day. It went to Howard Twilley, who with great second effort broke loose for 41 yards to the Pittsburgh 22. The 5'10" Twilley has been maligned in the past for lack of size and speed, and the Dolphins seemed to concur when they made Big Otto Stowe their first pick in the draft. But Twilley has withstood the challenge from Stowe and is having his finest year. Several plays after his catch, Greasy speared Paul Warfield all alone in the end zone for Miami's first touchdown. Warfield has made a tremendous difference in this Miami team, and not just with his pass-catching talents. Often overlooked is the fact that he is one of the finest blocking wide receivers in the game. Miami had trimmed their deficit to 11 points. And on the ensuing kickoff, Yepremian tried a dribbler, but Warren Bankston came up with the ball for Pittsburgh. On this series, the Miami defense again got tough. Only last week they'd produced that NFL rarity, a shutout. And now, just 1 week later, their opponents had 21 points in the first 17 minutes of the game. Miami was determined the 21 was all Pittsburgh would get. With Bill Stanfield leading the way, the Dolphins dropped Bradshaw for a loss. The pass rush is a pet project of Don Shula. For last year, the Dolphins were dead last with only 18 sacks. Already this season, they've exceeded that figure with 26. On the play, Bradshaw had re-injured his ankle and was replaced by Terry Hanratty, who promptly was intercepted by Tim Foley. Miami had their first big break of the game. At first, it appeared they wouldn't capitalize on it. Greasy tried to spring Morris wide, and although he showed great balance, rookie linebacker Jack Ham stopped him for a loss. Then, while looking for a receiver, Greasy was hit by rookie end Dwight White, finished off by Ben McGee, and pushed deeper toward their own goal line. Then, under pressure again, Greasy showed what a strong arm and a great receiver can do. His pass, thrown on the run, traveled 56 yards in the air to Paul Warfield, who had badly beaten his defender. It amounted to an 86-yard touchdown pass, the longest in the history of the Miami Dolphins. Miami trailed the Steelers now by only 4 points. The presence of Warfield in the Dolphins lineup, along with Jim Kick and Larry Zonka, has altered the style of the team considerably from the early days when Greasy would have to throw 35, 40 passes per game. The ground attack now predominates and gains control of the game. This allows Greasy to pick his spots for the quick strike, as personified by Warfield and the mercurial Morris. This talented fivesome, along with Garo Yepremian and an outstanding offensive line, gives Miami an offense unmatched by anyone in the league, with the possible exception of the Oakland Raiders. Now, after a fine catch by Twilly, and with 30 seconds remaining, Warfield was open, but overthrown. Chuck Allen made the interception to end the half. Nonetheless, Miami had finished with a flurry of points to pull within 4 of Pittsburgh, 21-17. Miami came out of the locker room trailing 21-17, wondering how to solve the Steeler defense. Aside from a few long pass plays, they had not moved the ball that well in the first half, and in the third quarter they would again fail to do so. Larry Zonka time and again tried to crash the Steeler defense, and time and again he was turned away by the gang-tackling Steelers. Zonka carries the brunt of Miami's running, but he does more than that. Watch him block for Mercury Morris on the only sizable gain the Dolphins could muster in the quarter. Most of the quarter, Greasy failed to move his team, however, as the pressure from one of the NFL's toughest defenses forced him to have an early dinner. Watch the Steelers' right end, Dwight White, number 78, as he stalks his quarry and with great pursuit tracks him down. White is a rookie from East Texas State, right across the river from West Texas State, where Mercury Morris resided. All this pressure finally caused Greasy to give up the ball. when his pass fell into the hands of number 48, John Rouser, who led his pursuers a frantic chase before being corralled by Howard Twilley, Greasy's intended receiver. On a repeat, we can see why the play failed. Mean Joe Green, number 75, crashed in on Greasy, forcing a wild throw. It was Rouser himself who tipped and caught his own deflection and set Pittsburgh up on the Dolphin 41. From here, Bradshaw led the Steelers goalward on a typical drive, consisting of short passes to his backs, Pearson and Fuqua. The short pass is a different theory of ball control, and Bradshaw and his elusive runners worked it well. But two major penalties hurt them badly. The first was a holding penalty, getting them back to the 30. The second was a clipping call, nullifying this run by Pearson. The two 15-yarders ruined their momentum and must have shaken Bradshaw up, for on the next play he threw poorly, and Jake Scott ended the drive with an interception. At free safety, Scott is the leader of Don Shula's containing zone defense, which last year allowed the fewest points in their division. And his steal here ended the third quarter with the Dolphins still trailing by 4. But the first play of the final period changed all that. As only he can do it, Paul Warfield streaked by number 47, Mel Blount, and the AFC's leading passer laid one right into his star receiver's hands. Miami had the lead. On a repeat of the big play, Greasy's fake to Morris held the secondary up just long enough to let Mr. Warfield glide by them all alone when the ball arrived. It was the third Greasy-Warfield scoring play of the game, and the 11th time this year Warfield has crossed the goal with a greasy pigskin to lead the NFL in TD receptions. It was to be the third and last catch of the game for Warfield, and all three went the distance. Miami's only real offense all day, and a testimony to one of the NFL's finest receivers, and perhaps one of the greatest of all time. More importantly, it put the Dolphins ahead 24-21 with 14 minutes to play. It was now up to the Dolphin defense. They had 1 quarter to protect a 3-point lead. Bradshaw and the Steelers' offense would have 3 possessions in this final period, but on each, the Dolphins' defense was magnificent. First, it was the front 4, led by Stanfill and Fernandez. Later, it was the play of linebacker Doug Swift, number 59, shedding, stripping, and swarming. On this series, the Steelers' second to the last period, Bradshaw, now wearing high tops to protect his ankle, did move the team for a while on short passes. But on the key third down situation, Doug Swift was there to end the drive. Swift is from Amherst College, a school known more for its brains than its brawn. Swift obviously has both. The Steeler defense, too, held the Dolphins in check this final period and gave their offense its third possession with about 6 minutes left. It was here that Bradshaw did lead his team on a time-consuming drive that looked profitable. Passing on 7 straight plays, he piled up first downs and an interference call at the Dolphins' 30. But again, the major penalty was a major factor in the outcome. This 7-yard run by Pearson was canceled and cost them dearly. They now had 2nd and 23 from the 43 instead of 2nd and 2 from the 22. A major penalty kills you in more ways than just losing yards. The front line can blow in, and the pressure on passer and receiver is much greater. Bradshaw and his receivers indeed seemed to feel this, as on 2nd and 3rd downs, they failed. With 4 minutes left and 4th down on the Dolphins' 43, Chuck Noll chose to punt, figuring his defense could get it back. He was right. The defense again stopped Zonka on 3 downs, and with 2 minutes left, Seipel punted. But Noll's strategy backfired on him as return man John Staggers slipped. The ball hit his leg, and Miami recovered. It looked certain they would now run out the clock and end the game. But once again, the Steelers stopped them 3 straight downs, and making good use of their timeouts, got the ball back on their own 42 as Seipel's punt trickled only 18 yards. There were 13 seconds left, barely time for a short pass and a field goal attempt to tie the game. Bradshaw to Fuqua. 6 seconds left at midfield. Roy Girella tries one from 57 yards. It's short, but there's a Dolphin penalty. With 1 second left, he tries again from 52. It's blocked, and the game is over. Don Shula's Miami Dolphins have their 6th straight victory, longest streak in the NFL, and remain 1/2 game ahead of Baltimore, setting up a showdown between the two in their next game. For the Dolphins, it might be a hard road to hoe. The Colts' defense is as tough as the Steelers, and their great zone pass coverage could stifle the Dolphins' #1 weapon in this game, the Greasy Warfield bomb. Then again, 1970 was the year of the 4-legged animal, the Colt. 1971 may just be the year of the Dolphin.